What's up, Pinedale kids? I'm glad that you've joined us tonight for Wednesday Night Live. However, we really need a new name because we're not live. And Troy suggests that we do Wednesday Not Live. Wednesday Not Live.
Yeah. It's not live, but it is Wednesday.
But we are alive. We should call it Wednesday Alive. So if you got an idea, send it to us. Tonight, we are going to do an art project with you. You should have picked up some art supplies at the church prior to tonight, but if you didn't, you might have some of this stuff laying around your house and you can use it, or you can watch this video another night and do it another time. Here are the things that you should have gotten. A blank piece of paper like this. This is going to be kind of like your tablecloth to help you keep from getting paint all over the table. Showers.
Yeah, I need more than one probably.
Also, you should have gotten a blank art board like this. This is called a canvas panel. That's what you're gonna paint on. You also got 4 colors of paint and an empty tub. This empty cup, you're going to want to put some water in it. You also will need to get some paper towels from your house. You also should have gotten a couple of paint brushes. One is for black. The other one is for the other 3 colors. And lastly, you should have gotten some Q-tips and some stencils, or a stencil with either an elephant or a giraffe on it. Our goal tonight is to paint this scene right here. But I have no artistic abilities whatsoever. Now, if the goal is to get paint all over us, I will win that contest. So tonight, we've got Amy. Amy is an art teacher at Northwest Elementary as well as Freeburg Elementary. So I imagine there's probably a lot of you that are watching this that go, that's my teacher from school.
That's right.
Yeah, there she is. And she's brought a helper with her. She's got Kara over here. Hers is going to look the best. And she also brought Kaden with her, who's sitting out in the audience. And we'll get to talk to her here in a little bit. So we're going to turn it over to Amy, and she's going to guide us through painting this scene.
Well, hello, everyone. So glad you could make it tonight, and I hope you have all of your supplies set up at your table. Please make sure if you have long sleeves, Sean, that you push your sleeves up so that you don't get paint on your clothes, and definitely make sure all of this stays on top of this paper. First, we're going to be starting out with the color yellow, and most of the kids in my class know when we paint things, we always start with the lightest color and we work our way to the darkest color. So we're going to be practicing this while you're at home. Go ahead and get one of your sponges. And we're going to be starting with, and we have red, orange, yellow, and black. So can you guess which one of these is the lightest color?
Yellow.
Yes, very good. So we are going to start with yellow. And we're going to start down here close to the bottom of our panel, and we're going to work our way up to the top. So let's go ahead and get a little bit of yellow on the tip of your foam brush. And this is not your typical camel hair brush, but it is a foam brush that we're going to use, and it's really great for spreading out paint nice and evenly. So let's start right down here at the bottom, and we're going to go back and forth. Nice, long, smooth strokes. And you need to get more paint if it starts to dry. And keep on moving. We're going all the way to the edge of the panel. We don't want to leave any white space where we're painting the yellow.
How far down do we go, Amy?
We're going to go pretty close to the bottom.
But not all the way to the bottom.
Well, let's just go all the way to the bottom.
Okay.
We're going to be painting over the bottom shortly.
You guys talk.
Okay, and about right here, I would say about this far up would be a great place for us to end with our yellows. So I'll wait and make sure everybody's with me.
She's a little higher.
it doesn't matter.
Looks
Yeah.
like she's about halfway up.
There's no wrong answers.
Yeah, there's nothing that's
Your
going to be.
sunset doesn't have to look like my sunset.
Your sun can be a little further down, and mine can still be up a little higher. It's totally fine.
Ta-da! Look at that.
Okay, so kids, we're moving to the next lightest color. We've finished with our yellow for right now, but we're going to come back to the yellow. What's the next lightest color?
Orange.
That's right, orange. And we're going to go ahead and dip in the orange. If you want to wash off your brush, you're welcome to, but I'm just going to go ahead and go on to the orange because, let me just show you. This panel right here has some yellow at the bottom, and we're going to be moving into the orange, and they're going to blend with one another. So if we already know they're going to blend, I'm sure it's okay if they blend on the brush. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my brush in the orange, and we're going to go right here in the middle, and I'm going to go back and forth. And it's okay if it begins to touch the yellow because that's what we want to happen. So as you start using up what little bit of paint you have, I want you to start moving back where these two colors meet. We're going to take our brush and blend them. So now what color do we have between orange and yellow?
Yangelo.
Sean says,
Yellow-y.
I don't know what he just said.
Yellow-y?
So we're moving back into the yellow just a bit, and I'm holding my brush very lightly, and I'm not adding any more paint. I'm kind of just, do you see how my strokes are going back and forth gently? So now I have my dark orange up here, I have yellowy orange in the middle, and then my yellow is at the bottom. I think I'm going to add a little bit more orange up here, and we'll keep on moving toward the top. We're going to go almost to the top with the orange. Nice long strokes. And if ever we're going a little too fast for you, please pause the video until you catch up. So I don't want anybody to get behind. What do you think, Kara?
I think it's going pretty good.
Kara says hers is going pretty good.
How's hers look like that?
She has magic powers. If I
How
was
did you
sitting
do
next
that?
to her, I wouldn't hear those.
I taught her everything she knows, Sean.
Right.
Okay, she might disagree a little.
Can you teach me what she knows?
I'm doing the best I can.
So you're doing the same thing she
does your
did.
shading there is magic in shading that I don't have.
How did she do
If you
that?
feel like you're not getting this to blend very well, take your paper towel and wipe off some of that orange paint. And I just go back and forth on my paper towel, and it's fairly dry. A dry brush is great for blending. And, you know, my students also know when I say, what color do we go to blend with? They know we go to the lightest color. So if you're still working on getting the two blended and you need to dip back into your yellow just a little bit, feel free to do that. Yellow is our lightest color. But I'm done blending, so I'm just going to wipe my brush off over here. I'm not much for washing it off. I just dry it off. And usually close to the bottom, we're going to keep it a brighter yellow because the sun is going down and it's really going to be bright down towards the bottom of our painting. The top of our painting, however, let's take a look at this one again.
Just have to make this one.
The top of our painting has some really dark colors. Right now we're still dealing with some orange and yellow, and we're going to be bringing in some red now. Is everybody ready to move on to the red?
Ready.
Oh, wait.
Ready. Ha ha ha.
Ready. Is everybody ready? If you do rinse your brush in the water, please, please dry it off really, really well on your paper towel. Sean's ready. Kara?
Yeah, ready.
Okay, so let's get the orange out of the way. Now we're going to move to the dark red. And red is a very bossy color, okay? So you don't want a whole lot of red on your brush. And we're not going to do a whole lot of blending with it because this red could take over, and we don't want it to take over. So we're going to put the red up here at the top. And you'll notice when you start getting into the orange, we don't have red anymore. We're going to end up with a reddish orange. So your paint is still wet. Whoops. So I'm going to get the yellow up here, the red up here. And after I get the red painted all at the top, and remember, if it starts to feel like it's drying a little bit, just touch the red just a little bit. Very bossy, and it goes a long, long way. So now that I have the red...
Red paint's just like redheads. They're very bossy.
Are you a redhead?
No, she is.
Oh, that's right, she is. So now, while my brush is still very dry, I'm not putting any more red paint on here. Now I'm going to do some blending. This is between the red and the orange. Take your paint sponge, and we'll go back and forth, nice long strokes, just between the two of these, until we feel like it's blended. And if you like it a little bit darker down lower, just go ahead and take that brush down if you like. I know, mine's sliding too.
The camera is like night and day different.
And you know what? Everybody's is going to look a little bit different, but I always celebrate that because nobody's needs to look like anyone else's. It just look like all of God's children. We all look different, and we all celebrate that too. So we're going to make sure everybody's painting is their own. Sean, how's it coming? I think this is looking pretty good.
When I meet dentists, I don't like to smile because I feel like they're looking at my teeth and judging, my mouth. I don't like you looking at my artwork.
I hear you. Okay. Michelle, how's it going down there? You feel like you're getting some blending going on?
Yep. Getting it, trying to here.
Well, it doesn't have to be perfect because every single sky is different. Did you notice? No sky is the same from the day before. It's really awesome. So this is really nice that they all look a little different. Okay, now would be a good time for us to go ahead and rinse our brushes because we're going to move to the sun. We're going to be adding a sun in the middle of our painting, and I'm just kind of pushing my sponge, and let me put this over here so you can see. Boy, this is some pretty water. I won't spill it. Okay, so now I've kind of washed it off pretty good, and I'm going to make sure I get it all dry.
Looks like grapefruit juice.
It does look like grapefruit juice. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can see I'm still dabbing a little bit of color on here, which is not a big deal, but I do want a pretty dry brush to do the sun. Okay, so how do you feel about your blending? Is everybody with me on their blending?
You can go ahead. I'm trying to fix
You need more yellow.
I know, I'm trying.
No,
But I screwed it up, so
it's okay.
it's okay. You're right.
Yep. Yellow can be your blending friend.
Yes, I do. I'm a paper towel, Sean.
Oh, here's some. Oops.
She was sliding
Anybody
around.
else need a paper towel?
Yes, please.
Some people have paper towels at home. We don't. No, actually, we do now. They're hard to find.
Was that you or me?
That was me. Yeah, so don't dab on your... I was leaving it there and dabbing on it.
I know,
and it
I
went
always
through.
do mine in my hand. I guess I
Yeah.
should have said that. Sean, make sure when you do this, you do it in your hand. Or you could have your paper towel over your piece of paper would be fine too.
Okay.
Okay. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do try to get it dry if you can. Remember, all these colors are blending together anyway to create this sky. So If you get a little bit of red or orange in the next part, it'll be fine. That's a bit, but I think it'll be okay. Okay, are we ready to go ahead and move on? Excellent. All right, we're going to come back to our yellow. And what we're going to be creating, and I'll show you in this one, we have just sort of an outline of a sun in the background. And so right here in the middle, let's take our brush and we're going to make a circle. And if it begins to blend with the background, that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. We just want a shimmer of the sun in the background. We don't really want it sticking out like a sore thumb. As you see, I keep moving my brush around. And we just want that hint of the sun in the background. What do you think, Sean? Are you doing okay with the circle?
I think mine's not a circle. Mine's looks like a smashed grape.
Okay, kids, you can paint a smashed grape. All right, so the next part, we're going to be using the tip of our brush for this next part, and it's going to kind of look like a shimmer of clouds that are over the edge of our sun. So what we're going to do, we'll just go ahead and use our brush, and it does have a little bit of paint on here. So, Kara, what is your suggestion for putting the shimmer of clouds like this? What would you suggest we do?
What I do is while your sun is still a little bit wet and you have a little bit of orange on your brush, you're just going to make little lines like this and just pull out from your sun.
Okay.
Just really lightly. And if you want to add some more yellow so that it blends a little bit better with the sun, you can. But kind of just up to you.
Okay, so she said we're just going to blend a little bit, coming from the sun and sort of moving our way out.
Yep.
And if it picks up a little bit of the yellow, that's perfectly fine. What are these called, Sean? Stratus clouds or something?
Wow. It's digging deep in the
I'll-
arsenal.
I'll take your word
Maybe
for
our
it.
fifth graders know. If you know, be sure you let Sean know. These are these long, wispy clouds. And I'm just dragging, you'll see the very end of the brush right here. I'm just dragging out from the middle and even carrying a little bit of that reflection of the yellow sun out there with it. What do you think, Kara?
Looks good.
Yours looks better than mine.
How dare you?
How dare you? That's right.
Sorry.
Oh, Sean. Kara's doing great down here. Okay, so right now we've ended up, we have the sun and the background. And they're just kind of random.
Carry on.
They're kind of random little clouds that are skirting across out here. And you can put a few more out on the sides if you want. All right. So this is all of
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are finished with the background, and the background needs to completely dry. So while we have it drying, I'm going to go ahead and lay this brush down, but you'll see the next colors that we're going to use are really the only color that we haven't used yet, which is black. And all of these colors need to be nice and dry. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to start working on our tree that we have over here. And we're also going to work on our animals, whichever animal you chose, the giraffe or the elephant.
Okay, so you just heard Amy say that we need to let this completely dry before we move on to the next color. To do that, we're going to ask you to pause the video. Once it's dry, come back and then restart the video. We'll see you in just a little bit. Now that you've unpaused the video, before we get started, we just got to emphasize you need your painting dry before we move on to the next color. So now we're going to go to black. This is Amy, and she's going to take over again.
Thank you, Sean. All right, so you were given 2 brushes in the materials that came home. So I want you to get the other brush. This brush is only going to be used for black, and that's it. So everybody get your black brush, And there's a couple of different things I want to tell you about this brush. Let's see, do you notice how it has a point on the very tip? You can look at the one I'm showing right here. Do you see this very pointed edge? That's what we're going to be using for some of our grass that we do at the bottom. But the first thing that we're going to use is, and you'll see how it kind of has an angle to it. We're only going to use the very tip of the brush so we don't bear down too hard because we don't want it to spread all over the place, because black is an even bossier color than red because it's the darkest one. So we need to be very careful how we use this. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit of paint just on the very tip, the little point right here. And we're going to put some black paint at the bottom for our ground. So I know that's kind of hard to see, but we're just going to put a little bit right down here, just like this. All the way across. And you may find that dabbing your paintbrush works a little bit easier for you. And I'm going to touch it to the paint. I just put a little bit on there. And I'm going to keep working my way down. This is going to be the ground where your animal, whatever animal you choose, is going to sit. Also, it's going to be the ground where our tree is going to live. And it's going to be a happy tree, Sean. Who likes happy trees?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sean, this is like Jeopardy. Am I going to have to start playing music? Who likes happy trees?
Focusing on
His hair?
the drawn a straight line. How are you guys making it straight?
Because the edge of the paintbrush is straight.
It does, Mom.
And you'll see I'm just dabbing until I fill in this space at the bottom.
Go back there.
And it's going to end up looking something like this. And you'll see this is kind of the direction that we're going. But first we need to have this dark black bottom here down at the ground. So I'm looking at mine and I'm thinking, you know, maybe I'm going to make it a little bit taller. So I'm going to come back and add just a little bit more. You may want yours shorter. You may want it taller. I'll leave it up to you. I'm just touching a little bit of paint on here, not much. Remember, it's a bossy color. Goes a long way. Sean's pretty intent here. Pretty intense. On the ground, I can tell. Michelle, how's it going down there?
It's going good.
She's doing good.
She's got a very straight black line.
You can decide how high I want to go.
And it's okay. It's a good place for us to start to have this nice black band at the bottom before we start adding some of the grass that grows out in the savanna in Africa. So make sure you have a nice...
Is the grass black in the savanna?
Well, what this is a silhouette. So it's kind of like we're seeing it, but we can't see any of the details. As the sun's going down, you know, if the sun's shining at you and you look at something, it makes it look really dark. Kind of like when we're looking out there. Everything looks really dark. So we'll just wait and make sure everybody has their bottom painted the way they want it. You don't need any water. We're going to let the liquid paint. I tell my students in my class all the time, if we're using liquid paint, we probably don't need to use a whole lot of water, because they'll tell you if you use water with your paint, it changes the color of it. Water added to any paint makes it lighter, but I want this to be nice and black down here at the bottom, so I'm going to make sure I don't use any water. It's a nice dry brush. So no rinsing right now. And remember, if you're not keeping up with us, please pause the video anytime to make sure you catch up. As we wait on Sean.
I'm there. You guys go on. You can continue. I'll just pause the video and catch up.
That's funny. All right, we are going to go ahead and move on, and we're going to do some grass down here at the bottom. And I want you to take a look again at the tip of your brush. And if you'll remember, we have this nice, thin, pointy part. That's the part that we're going to use to do some of the some of the grass at the bottom. So I'm going to get just a little bit of paint on the very tip. And what I'm going to do is just drag my brush up. And you'll see it's making these just little points going up that look like grass growing. So I'm going to pull this one a little bit maybe to the left because grass doesn't grow straight all the time. So you want to have it going a little bit one way, maybe the other way. And we're going to do this going all the way down. So drag your paint.
Who's your favorite artist?
Patricia Polacco. She's an author too. She's from Michigan, and she grew up on a farm with her family and a red-headed older brother. And one of her favorite stories that she wrote was called My Rotten Red-Headed Brother. If you haven't checked her out, you should check out some of her books. And she writes about a lot of experiences, but she did all of her own illustrations. And what I really loved about her, school wasn't really her thing. And she even struggled sometimes. Like when she got to 5th grade, she struggled some. But her teacher knew that she was really artistic. And it was a good thing he was a friend to her, and he saw what talent she had. And she became a famous author and illustrator. And I just love her. She even wrote a story about her favorite teacher.
What do you think of Bob Ross?
Bob Ross. I love Bob Ross too. He's very peaceful and sleepy-like. He loves happy trees.
He also loves squirrels.
He loves squirrels too. We watched a video in my class of, it was Bob Ross, and it had a cartoon squirrel or something in it. The kids loved it. All right, so now we have the savanna painted at the bottom.
I did better with the.
That looks great. Yeah, yeah.
It turned out better
Kara
for me
likes that
because
too. Ooh, that looks really good.
Thanks.
Very nice.
my favorite painters. Kara.
I know.
Maybe
Me
you say
too.
that.
Me too. Golly, I
Gotta
forgot
create a
about my own
symmetric
daughter.
piece for 'em.
Kara's unreal. What she can paint and what she can do.
But I am real.
Did you like my technique? How I went. Turned out really good, huh? I don't know what's up with this one over here. Just kidding.
Well, I used a little bit of Kara's technique on this one. I think that looks
See,
good.
mine
What do you
didn't
think,
look
Kara?
like that.
I think it looks good.
It
All right.
looks like what?
Yours looks good.
Yeah.
My grass is like taking up a third.
Just
I
keeps
need to-
growing. We're gonna need a
That's 'cause
lawnmower
the
for your
animals haven't
savanna.
come through to eat any of
Yeah.
it yet. Once
Need
your
a
animals are
lawnmower.
there, it'll slide on.
Okay, so once we have the grass done down at the bottom, we're going to go ahead and move to this tree over here. And I want you to take a look at the picture of the tree. What letters do you see?
Why?
You see a Y here. And right off of this one, do we see another Y?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then another Y. And does everybody see this Y? So that's how we're going to make tree branches. We're going to make some letter Ys.
Okay.
So what I'm going to use again is the very, very tip of the brush and just put a little bit of paint on the tip.
It stresses me out.
Just a little bit. So we need to kind of decide where we want to put our tree. And you can see it's not all the way over at the very edge. It's about right here because I want to save some room for all of the leaves that are on this tree. So about right here, we're going to start with a line going up. And we're going to start down here at the ground. And you'll see that I'm using the very tip. Do you see how it made like a straight line? So I'm going to kind of keep going up and just dabbing. I'm going to get about right here, and now I'm going to veer off to make a Y. And from here, I'm going to make another Y. And maybe from here, another Y. And I'm going to have this one go up and put a little Y right here at the top. And if you think you might need just a little bit more paint, I barely touched it on the very tip. And I think I'm going to have a happy little branch here that comes out and goes all the way to the edge of the paper. I think another Y right here. And I'm barely touching the page. Now I want to come back and add a little bit of thickness to some of the tree. You'll see that this one's quite a bit thicker than the one that I've drawn, but I did want to have a base to be able to work around. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to add some width. That's how wide the tree is going to be. Just barely touching the paint. And as a tree gets closer to the ground, most of the time, it's just a little bit bigger down here at the bottom than it is up at the top. So I'm going to make this branch a little thicker. So again, I'm keeping just the edge of the brush is all I'm working with, and I'm barely touching the canvas. I mean, barely touching it. So this one's going to come off. Maybe another little happy branch right here. And, how about one right here? And our branches don't have to look alike because, well,
That's a good
no
thing.
trees look alike.
That's a really good thing.
And then there's Sean.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm going to continue going up on the page, and I'm not going to go up too far, but you'll see how this one goes up into where the red is where some of the leaves are going to be. So I'm going to take some of my branches up almost to that point. Make another little V right here, or a Y, I should say. So a lot of the edge of these branches that we have are going to be covered up with leaves. So just make sure you get your tree pretty much the way you like it. I know a lot of the trees in the savanna have a lot of these bent branches. So remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get some branches on there. And make sure it's to one side of your paper, because you do want to make sure you save room to put your animals on the other side. Sean, are you ready?
That's a scary looking tree.
Kind of
Desert
haunted
is
house.
harsh.
Sort of more like a haunted house, you think? Okay, you ready to move on? Okay, so once you get some of your branches, we're going to be adding some leaves. And we're going to go ahead and put this sponge to the side. For right now, we're done with the sponge. And now we're going to get one of the Q-tips. And Sean gave you a few Q-tips to use just in case it gets all flustered out or it messes up and you need a new one. You'll have a couple extras, but you may not use the other ones.
You can clean your ears.
You can always clean out your ears. No, let your parents take care of that. No, you don't do it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move to the leaves part. And this is going to be a stippling effect. And when I say stippling, we're going to put a little bit of paint on the tip of the Q-tip, and we're going to go up and down, just touching the canvas. We're not going to be moving our hands back and forth like you would a paintbrush. We're going to be putting basically lots of dots on here that are going to all come together. and they're going to look like bunches of leaves, just like this. So let's get started. We're going to put a little bit on the tip of our Q-tip, just like this. Is everybody with me?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Over there.
And we're not going to put any leaves down here because the leaves grow out at the edges of the branches. So that's where we're going to put a lot of our leaves. So I'm just going to start, let's say right here, and putting lots of dots together right there. And then I think I'm going to come out here and add a few. I don't want it to dry up. I'm going to put a little bit more on my brush.
Q-tip.
Q-tip. Thank you, Kara. And these circles that you're doing, they can all kind of run together. In fact, it'll make it look even more like leaves. So I'm going to come over here and get a little bit more. And here's a really bushy branch coming out. See, I'm just going up and down, tap, 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 tap. And I'm going to keep moving. And I see what you mean, Kara, about the Q-tip.
Mm-hmm.
Starts to get a little globby on the end. So I'm touching, touching, touching.
Just covered up the only branch that looked like a branch.
You don't want to cover up the entire branch. You'll see how I still have a little bit of the V still showing. Because if you cover it all the way up, we're not going to be able to see some of the branches. But you do want some here and there. We'll just keep tapping, tapping.
Isn't that part of an Edgar Allan Poe poem? Tapping, tapping. Ugh, hated those.
Edgar Allan Poe makes me scared.
Yeah.
His stuff was scary.
He's kind of a dark person.
Oh, yeah.
It was. It was dark, dark.
How did I do this yesterday? This looks nothing like my thing. Oh my goodness.
And Kara was telling me yesterday, a lot of the trees in the savannah, they kind of go up in a little point at the top.
Yeah, they're all kind of top heavy.
Yeah. So we're going to make it look a little top heavy. I want you to go all the way to the edge of your paper. It's going to be like we can't really see the entire tree. Some of it's going to be hidden. Good thing you had this one painted already.
I know, I keep looking at it for a reference.
You need to look at Kara's for a reference.
I really just need a picture of a tree for a reference, but it's
I'm going to come back and add a branch.
fine. These are messy.
I'm going to add a branch right here. Because I have an empty space. Didn't want an empty space there.
Mine is a tree that a giant animal has eaten off. So it's uneven. The giraffes have gotten in the tree.
And you don't want it to be perfectly round at the top because some branches might be just a little bit longer than others. So that's why I have some that are coming up here and some that might be a little bit lower. But just enjoy painting and adding your leaves.
I'm going to take an artistic liberty here and add some little messiness.
Some messiness.
Yeah. Look like
Yours
branches
looks
and
better.
stuff.
I like it. You should
Is
be
this done
putting
with a
here, Kara.
brush?
Yeah, I did that one differently than I
Yeah.
did that one.
Yeah, we were just testing out some different things. So. All right, and hopefully, if your Q-tip looks anything like this is why you might want to get another one, because my Q-tip's looking a little bit rough. Okay, so once you get all of your stippling done of this tree, you're probably going to have a lot of paint that still needs to dry. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean right now to let you know what we're going to do next.
So we're going to give you an opportunity to pause the video and kind of catch up with your leaves on your tree. And we need to give this time to dry before we do our stencil, which is going to be our next part. Now, during this pause time, something you could do is you could take the envelope out that's in your packet and fill out the Mother's Day card, because we're hoping that you're going to use this as a Mother's Day gift that you can give to your mom on Sunday. This Sunday is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. So pause the video now, let that dry, and sign your mom's card. It's now time to finish our painting. The last thing that we have to do is our stencil. I'm going to turn it back over to Amy again.
Okay, so hopefully all of the black paint is dry. If yours is not dry, you do not need to go to this step yet. You need to pause the video and make sure this is dry. You don't want to get paint on the back of your stencil and then it drag around to other parts on your canvas. So what we're going to do, we have some different stencils, whether you picked the elephants or the giraffes. And we're going to lay it down over in this blank space. And what we need to make sure that what we're going to do, let's take a look at the one. You can look at the camera above me. And you can see how the legs of the elephant are coming down and touching the ground, and how the grass is growing up around their legs. So we don't want the elephant or the giraffe to be floating in midair. So when we put the stencil down, we need to make sure that we're touching the ground over here. So which one am I going to use? This one? Sure. Okay, so everybody grab a stencil. All right, so my stencil looks a little bit different. In fact, it looks like this one. But there's several different stencils. And let me see yours, Kara. Kara's looks a little bit different. Her elephants, what we have is a mama and a baby is holding on. So Kara's going to be doing this one. And then we also have a giraffe. So some of you may have the mama and the baby giraffe. And this is the elephant that I'm going to use. And I've actually used this stencil before. I think I used it this way, because you can tell I have some paint around the outside. Here's going to be something really important when we lay down the stencil. Once you lay it down, you need to leave it there. You don't want to move it around, because there's going to be paint. Do you see how I got paint on the practice one that I did here? This is the one that I used for the example. And if this thing slides at all, you may get paint that slides also. We don't want that to happen. So as I was talking to Kara about this yesterday, we had said maybe one of us needs to help hold down the stencil and kind of help each other out. And what I'm going to do is lay this down. And do you see how I can see some of the grass that is peeking up around? Let me see yours, Kara, so they can see it just a little bit better. If I lay it down, do you see how down here at the feet, we can see some of the grass coming up? That's what we want. We want to make sure those legs are down in the grass, because nobody is in Africa mowing this grass. So we need to make sure it looks grown up and that the elephants are walking through the grass. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to lay it down where I can see the grass peeking through. And Kara, if I can get you to help me, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a little bit of paint on the tip of our brush, and Kara's going to just kind of help hold it down. Wherever I go to stipple, and do you remember how you did the stippling? That's like the dots with the Q-tip. We're going to use the paintbrush the same way, well, the foam brush. And I'm just going to dab gently. I don't want to go too far because that paint could seep under the stencil. So I'm going to start right here, and I've got Kara helping me. And what I'm going to do is just go over the whole thing. I'm barely touching it. You don't want to push down too hard. If you push too hard, you're going to push paint under the stencil, and it may not look like your animal anymore. So move your hand down here for me. Okay. And thank you, Kara. You're being a very good assistant for me today.
You're welcome. You just
And I
painted my
just painted
finger.
her finger.
Thank you.
She's a very good assistant to let me paint her finger black. Okay, I'm going to hold down here in this corner and I'm going to let her hold there. See, I'm barely dabbing these little dots. I'm touching the paint just a little bit to get it on the edge, just a little bit. I'm going to keep on moving till I can't see any more yellow. Can't see anything. Oh, wow. What a difference. What a
Painted my
difference.
finger again. It's fine. Just
My students in my class are forever saying, Miss Daly, here's your glasses. I found them. Because I lay them down and I always say, has anybody seen my glasses? I say, here they are. They're on somebody's table. So I'm just going to keep on moving until I get the whole elephant covered. Kara's been nice enough to help me, because if you don't have it held down, that stencil will stick to the brush and it'll flop up in the air, and you don't really want that to happen. So I'm going to get all the way to the edge. And I haven't moved the stencil. It's very important to keep it really still. Okay, you can move your thumb just a little bit. See if I can get these last two legs for this elephant. Okay.
right there. I think I missed it.
And hopefully I have everything. And it kind of looks like we don't really have any yellow showing. I think I've got it covered over. Now, you cannot put this stencil back down. Once you pull it up, after you've done all of your stippling, what I'm doing now, you cannot put your stencil back down. So you better be sure that you've covered everything. So I'm going to lay down the brush, and I'm going to take both hands and get each side and pull straight up. I'm going to lay this down on my paper towel because I don't want to put it on anything else. So now we have a mama elephant and baby elephant. And Kara, would you like me to help you?
I think mine's good.
Okay. I'm going to touch right here at the bottom because I can kind of tell that the elephant doesn't have any grass below his feet. So we're just going to do a quick little fix right here, and I'm just touching right below each of his feet to add a little bit of grass. And I think I might need to do the same thing for the baby. How are you guys coming down there?
Touch up the bottom.
What happened?
Look at this, the elephant's
The front leg.
okay.
Well, I might have gotten a little too much paint too, but I think it's
You
okay.
just take a little bit of yellow and like.
Okay, so we all have our stencils finished. Please keep in mind, you don't want a lot of paint on the brush. You want to make sure it's just a little bit, and use that stippling to spread it out. And you never ever want to brush the foam brush to do a stencil because, again, it might get underneath the stencil and it'll spread out all over the place. So make sure you just barely touch your page to do this.
This is the most stressful part for me. I'm so afraid that it's going to mess up.
Here, do you want a paper towel to lay that on? I didn't want to lay it on this table.
And there you have it, your African sunset with the silhouette of a mama animal with its baby is all complete. You want to see ours? There's mine. And there's showers. There's my shells.
You need to hold yours.
Here's Amy's. And here's the professional.
And then there's Kara.
Store-bought one. That's perfect.
Hey, thank you kids so much for watching Wednesday Night Not Live, or Wednesday Not Live, or again, we need a name. So send me your ideas. You guys have a good night. We'll see you Sunday for Church at Home. Love you guys. Bye-bye.